With a bullpen currently being held together mostly by scraps and free agent names continuing to fly off the board, it seems about time for the Cubs to make some additions, particularly additions who can pitch in the highest leverage spots in the late innings of games. Porter Hodge did do an incredible job last year filling in at a high leverage role, it must be mentioned. Hodge debuted on May 22nd, struck out Ozzie Albies, Marcell Ozuna, and Matt Olson in order, and then went on to pitch in 39 games total, posting a 1.88 ERA, a 0.89 WHIP, and a 2.75 FIP. Those stats weren't put up in meaningless situations either. By June 27th, Hodge was being put into save situations, and through the rest of the season, while he didn't become the full-time closer till late August, early September, he was always pitching in the 7th, 8th, or 9th, sometimes even throwing multiple innings, and always protecting small leads in at least almost every outing. Like many elite relievers, Hodge's primary tool was just getting strikeouts. His sweeper was an incredibly valuable pitch for him, and played off a solid mid to high 90s fastball. Those two pitches helped him strike out 10.9 hitters per 9, while also getting a 32.8% whiff rate, which is quite elite. Interestingly, Hodge was not getting hitters to chase out the zone very often. That contributed to him walking 4 hitters per 9, but when he did live inside the strike zone, he wasn't getting burnt too often. The barrel rate against Hodge was only 3.3%, so even if hitters were able to get their bat on the ball and make solid contact, which they did not do too often, they either weren't getting launch angles that were conducive to actual good results, or just not hitting the ball hard enough to do any damage. So yeah, Hodge, even at just 24 years old, which he will turn before the season starts, looks every bit the part of a high leverage reliever, and if the Cubs started the season with him at closer, it wouldn't be the end of the world. At the same time, there are even better relievers than him out for the taking right now, and with open spots in the bullpen, it would be a good idea to add someone with a lot more experience to help Hodge out with the later innings. In a past video, I mentioned Kirby Yates and Carlos Estevez as being potential options, but lately another reliever has actually been directly connected to the Cubs, and that is Tanner Scott. Scott, through the early part of his career as a Baltimore Oriole, was one of countless relievers in baseball who had great stuff with no trouble getting strikeouts, but also had very little command, usually walking 4.5 to 6.5 hitters per 9 each season. In 2023 though, he was finally able to find the strike zone, and incredible results followed. Throwing from the left side, Scott brought his walk rate down from a disastrous 15.9% in 2022 to a right around league average 7.8% in 2023. He also did literally everything else at an elite level. Hitters were whiffing in the zone, chasing outside the zone, hitting ground balls, and just making weak contact, all at rates that made Scott one of the best all-around relievers in baseball, and that showed in the stats as he put up a 2.31 ERA in 74 games, as well as a 2.17 FIP. 2024 was more of the same for Tanner Scott in almost every aspect. His walk rate did jump up a full 5%, but remains manageable because he still missed bats, got a bunch of ground balls, and out of every qualified pitcher in MLB, had the second lowest average exit velocity on the batted balls he did allow. As long as he isn't walking in runs, Scott should always be an at least very good reliever. Even with the increased walk rate and slightly decreased strikeout rate, he still put up a 1.75 ERA and a 2.92 FIP. He is also just 30 years old now, so if he wants a huge deal in terms of dollar value, he can get that along with a deal with some serious length to it. That obviously lowers the Cubs' chances. They are obviously skittish in general, especially when it comes to relievers who want big money, and with Scott allegedly seeking 4 years worth $80 million, I'm not incredibly hopeful the Cubs end up with him, even despite reports that the Cubs are still among his top remaining suitors. I'll mention another guy here that the Cubs haven't really been connected to this offseason, but did apparently have considerable interest in last offseason, and that is Ryne Stanek. Stanek had a bad season, but he also had a bad season in 2023, and the Cubs were still apparently interested. He does have effective stuff. His career Ks per 9 over 8 seasons is 10.6, and he's not a stranger to actual good performance. In 2022 in Houston, he put up a 1.15 ERA in 59 games. Since that season though, his ERA is 4.5. He hasn't even been walking more batters than usual the past couple seasons, though his baseline for walks is pretty high. He's just been getting crushed. In 2022, Stanek allowed just 0.3 homers and 5.9 hits per 9 innings. Over 2023 and 2024, he has allowed 1.4 homers and 7.6 hits per 9. There's still an effective reliever somewhere in there though. In 2024, he had more Ks per 9 and less walks per 9 than Tanner Scott. He's just kind of broken for some reason, and that could be fixable. My mentioning of Stanek here is not me saying that he'd be a great move, but he feels right up the Cubs' alley, and it's not a move that would at all surprise me. That's all I got for this relief pitching free agent update. Not all that much has happened for the Cubs, so there's not much to talk about, but at least here we have a couple of pitchers the Cubs have actually been directly connected to. That being said, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that, and I'll see you.